What if the most important discovery about life on Earth was not found on land, but hidden 3,000 meters beneath the frozen waters of Antarctica? In early 2026, something extraordinary began to unfold in one of the most remote places on our planet. A team of international scientists gathered near the icy waters of the Southern Ocean, close to a deep underwater region known as the South Sandwich Trench. From space, Antarctica looks silent and empty, a massive white continent covered in ice. But beneath this frozen surface lies an ocean that remains one of the least explored environments on Earth. For decades, scientists believed that the deep waters surrounding Antarctica were mostly barren. Extreme cold, crushing pressure, and complete darkness were thought to make survival nearly impossible, especially during the long Antarctic winter, when the sun disappears for months and the ocean's surface freezes over without sunlight. Most life forms cannot survive. At least, that was the traditional understanding. But the mission launched in 2026 was about to challenge everything scientists thought they knew. A powerful research vessel slowly moved through floating icebergs as scientists prepared a deep-sea exploration robot designed to descend into the unknown. This machine was built with reinforced materials capable of surviving enormous pressure. At 3,000 meters below the surface, the pressure of the ocean becomes almost unimaginable. It is equivalent to having hundreds of tons pressing down on every square inch. Yet the robot was designed to survive these conditions. Slowly and carefully, the machine was lowered into the freezing water. At first, sunlight still penetrated the ocean surface, but as the robot continued its descent, the water gradually became darker. At 1,000 meters, only faint light remained. At 2,000 meters, the ocean was almost completely black. The deeper the robot traveled, the colder and darker the environment became. Then finally, at nearly 3,000 meters below the surface, the robot reached the ocean floor. Scientists expected to see little more than mud and scattered rocks. Instead, the cameras revealed something astonishing. The seabed was covered with life. Clusters of strange organisms stretched upward from the sediment. Soft creatures moved slowly across the rocks. Some species drifted through the water, like silent ghosts. Others appeared to be anchored firmly to the ocean floor. The discovery shocked the entire research team. Life was not only present here, it was thriving. Even more surprising was the complexity of this ecosystem. Instead of isolated organisms scattered across the seabed, scientists saw dense biological communities. Entire colonies of organisms covered large areas of the ocean floor. Some researchers described the scene as resembling an underwater city. This raised an important question. How could such a complex ecosystem exist without sunlight? On the surface of our planet, almost all life depends on the energy of the sun. Plants capture sunlight through photosynthesis, producing nutrients that support entire food chains. But here, 3,000 meters below the Antarctic ice, sunlight never reaches the ocean floor. Yet, life was clearly flourishing. Scientists soon discovered the secret. Chemical-rich fluids were slowly escaping from cracks in the Earth's crust beneath the ocean floor. These fluids contained gases such as methane and hydrogen sulfide. While toxic to humans, these chemicals provide energy for certain microscopic organisms. These bacteria use a process called chemosynthesis. Instead of converting sunlight into energy, they convert chemicals. This process allows them to produce nutrients even in total darkness. These bacteria form the base of an entire ecosystem. Small organisms feed on the bacteria, larger organisms feed on those smaller creatures. An entire biological system powered not by sunlight, but by chemistry. This meant something extraordinary. Life on Earth does not necessarily require sunlight to exist. If chemical energy is available, Entire ecosystems can survive in complete darkness. As the robot continued exploring the trench, the cameras revealed tall sponge-like organisms rising from the seabed. At first glance they looked harmless, but scientists quickly realized something unusual. These were not ordinary sponges, they were carnivorous. Instead of filtering tiny particles from the water, these organisms trapped small animals using microscopic hook-like structures. Once a creature touched the sponge, it became entangled. The sponge would slowly wrap around its prey and digest it externally. This behavior completely changed scientists' understanding of sponge biology. For centuries, sponges had been considered passive filter feeders. Yet in the extreme environment of the Antarctic trench, they had evolved into predators. Then another incredible sight appeared in the robot's lights. A massive whale skeleton resting silently on the seabed. In the deep ocean, when a whale dies and sinks to the ocean floor, the event creates a temporary ecosystem. Scientists call this phenomenon a whale fall around the skeleton. Thousands of strange, worm-like organisms had gathered. These creatures were bone-eating worms. They have no mouths, no eyes, and no digestive systems in the traditional sense. Instead, they release special acids that dissolve bone material. Inside their bodies live symbiotic bacteria that convert the dissolved nutrients into usable energy. In this way, the skeleton of a single whale can support an entire ecosystem for years. Life and death become part of a continuous cycle in the deep ocean. As the robot continued its exploration, another mysterious creature appeared. A giant sea spider slowly moved across the seabed, its long legs stretched outward as it carefully navigated the sediment. At these depths, some organisms grow much larger than their shallow water relatives. Scientists believe this phenomenon may be related to high oxygen levels and unique environmental conditions. Soon after, something even stranger drifted into view, a ghost-like octopus. Its body was almost completely transparent. It moved gently through the dark water, its soft form illuminated by the robot's lights. Despite the crushing pressure surrounding it, the octopus moved gracefully. Its tissues are filled with water, allowing internal pressure to match the surrounding ocean pressure. This adaptation allows it to survive where most creatures cannot. Every moment of the expedition revealed new mysteries. Scientists watching the live video feed inside the research vessel could hardly believe what they were seeing. The Antarctic trench had become a window into an entirely different world. A world that exists in complete darkness. A world where life thrives without sunlight. And a world that may hold clues about life beyond Earth. Because if ecosystems can exist beneath Antarctic ice, then similar ecosystems could exist elsewhere in the universe. Moons such as Europa and Enceladus are believed to contain vast oceans, hidden beneath thick layers of ice. For decades, scientists wondered whether these alien oceans might contain life. Now, Antarctica provided a powerful clue. If life can survive 3,000 meters beneath frozen Antarctic waters, perhaps it could also survive beneath the ice of distant worlds. And yet, scientists know that they have only explored a tiny fraction of the deep ocean. The vast majority of Antarctica's underwater world remains unexplored, hidden in darkness. Waiting. As the deep-sea robot continued its slow journey across the frozen seabed, the scientists aboard the research vessel began to understand something incredible. They were not just exploring an isolated trench, they were witnessing an entire hidden world that had existed for millions of years without ever being seen by human eyes. The deeper the cameras explored, the clearer it became that the Antarctic ocean floor was far more complex than anyone had imagined. Massive rock formations stretched across the seabed like underwater mountains. deep cracks in the ocean floor released clouds of mineral-rich chemicals. Into the dark water. These chemical plumes slowly drifted through the trench, creating invisible rivers of energy that supported entire ecosystems. To the organisms living here, these chemicals were as important as sunlight is to life on the surface. Small colonies of bacteria gathered near these chemical vents. They formed the foundation of the entire food chain. Tiny organisms fed on the bacteria. Larger creatures hunted those smaller animals, and above them all, strange predators moved silently through the darkness. Every movement of the robot revealed another surprising form of life. At one moment, the cameras captured a cluster of delicate glass-like structures rising from the ocean floor. They looked almost artificial, like antennas or delicate sculptures placed carefully on the seabed, but they were living organisms. These were deep-sea sponges. Unlike any previously studied near Antarctica, their transparent bodies reflected the light of the robot's cameras, creating an eerie glow in the darkness. For a moment, the entire research team fell silent as they watched the scene unfold on their monitors. Even the most experienced marine biologists had never seen anything quite like this. The robot slowly moved closer, and that was when the scientists noticed something even more unusual. These sponges were not simply filtering water like ordinary species. Instead, they appeared to be capturing small animals that drifted too close. Tiny crustaceans and shrimp became trapped by microscopic hooks covering the sponge's surface. Once trapped, the sponge slowly wrapped its body around the prey and began digesting it. This discovery shocked researchers. Sponges were once considered among the simplest organisms on Earth. Yet here, in the darkness of the Antarctic trench, they had evolved into efficient predators. Nature had found a way to transform even the most primitive life forms into hunters. As the robot continued its journey along the trench wall, the terrain began to change. Large rocky slopes appeared, forming steep underwater cliffs. The camera lights revealed countless organisms clinging to the rocks. Some looked like soft corals swaying gently in the cold currents. Others resembled strange alien flowers, slowly opening and closing in the darkness. The entire environment looked less like a barren ocean floor and more like a hidden city of life. But perhaps the most dramatic moment of the expedition came when the robot's lights illuminated something enormous resting on the seabed. At first, scientists thought it was a large rock formation, but as the camera moved closer, the shape became unmistakable. It was the remains of a giant whale. Its massive rib bones stretched across the seabed like the ruins of an ancient monument. In the deep ocean, a whale fall is one of the most important ecological events. When a whale sinks to the ocean floor, its body becomes a source of nutrients that can sustain entire communities of organisms for decades. Around the skeleton, thousands of creatures had gathered. Bright red worms covered the bones. Like living threads, these worms belong to a remarkable group of organisms known as bone-eating worms. Unlike most animals, they do not have mouths or stomachs. Instead, they use specialized roots that penetrate deep into the bones. Inside these roots, live colonies of bacteria. These bacteria break down the bone material and convert it into nutrients. It is a perfect example of biological cooperation. Without the bacteria, the worms would starve. Without the worms, the bacteria would never reach the bones. Together, they form a unique partnership that allows life to flourish even in the deepest oceans. As the robot hovered above the skeleton, the cameras captured another strange movement nearby. A large creature slowly stepped into the light. It was a giant sea spider. Unlike the small spiders found on land, these deep-sea species can grow to enormous sizes. Some of them have leg spans reaching nearly 70 centimeters. Their bodies are so thin that many of their internal organs extend into their legs, watching the spider move across the seabed was almost hypnotic. Its long legs moved slowly and gracefully, as if it were completely unaffected by the crushing pressure surrounding it. Soon after, the cameras recorded another mysterious encounter. From the darkness emerged a delicate shape floating silently through the water. It was a deep-sea octopus. Its body was nearly transparent, giving it the appearance of a ghost drifting through the abyss. Unlike shallow water octopuses, this species had evolved a soft, gelatinous body that allowed it to survive under extreme pressure. Instead of fighting the crushing force of the ocean, its body simply adapted to it. The octopus moved slowly through the water, its arms flowing like ribbons. For a brief moment, it seemed to examine the robot before disappearing back into the darkness. Every discovery raised new questions. How many unknown species might still exist in these depths? How many ecosystems remain completely unexplored beneath the Antarctic ice? The expedition had revealed only a tiny fraction of the deep ocean. Yet even this small glimpse had changed scientific thinking around the world. Because the Antarctic Trench had proven something remarkable. Life does not need sunlight to survive. It does not need warm temperatures. It does not even need conditions similar to those found on the surface of Earth. All it needs is energy. And energy can come from many sources. This realization quickly attracted the attention of scientists far beyond marine biology. Astrobiologists studying the possibility of life beyond Earth became deeply interested in the discovery that many icy moons in our solar system are believed to contain vast oceans hidden beneath thick layers of ice. Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, is thought to contain an ocean deeper than all the oceans on Earth combined. Saturn's moon Enceladus also appears to contain a global ocean beneath its frozen crust. For decades, scientists wondered whether life could exist in these alien oceans. The conditions seemed too extreme, too cold, too dark, too isolated, but the discoveries beneath Antarctica suggested otherwise. If life can thrive 3,000 meters below the frozen ocean of Earth, then similar ecosystems might exist beneath the ice of distant worlds. The Antarctic Trench had become more than a place of exploration. It had become a model for understanding life in the universe. Yet despite all these discoveries, scientists knew something important. The deep ocean remains one of the least explored environments on our planet. More than 80% of the ocean floor has never been directly observed by humans. And beneath the frozen waters of Antarctica, the mysteries are even greater. The robot eventually began its slow journey back toward the surface. The lights of the exploration vehicle faded as it ascended through the dark water. But the images it had captured would continue to inspire scientists for years to come. Because somewhere beneath the Antarctic ice, in a world of darkness and crushing pressure, life had proven once again that it can survive almost anywhere. And perhaps one day, these discoveries will guide humanity toward finding life beyond our own planet. Even after months of analysis, scientists are still trying to understand the full meaning of what was discovered beneath the Antarctic ice. Because what they saw was not just a collection of strange creatures. It was proof that life can survive in environments far more extreme than we once believed possible. 3,000 meters below the frozen ocean surface, where sunlight never reaches and pressure could crush most living organisms, entire ecosystems have found a way to exist. These creatures have adapted to darkness, cold, and immense pressure in ways that challenge everything we thought we knew about biology. And perhaps the most fascinating question remains unanswered. How many more unknown species are still waiting in the darkness? The Antarctic ocean floor is vast. In fact, scientists estimate that less than 20% of the global ocean floor has been explored. That means the majority of Earth's underwater world is still a mystery. Hidden valleys, underwater mountains, and deep trenches may contain ecosystems we have never imagined, and Antarctica, with its thick layers of ice and remote location, remains one of the most mysterious places on the planet. Every new expedition reveals something unexpected. Every new camera descent uncovers organisms that were previously unknown to science. But perhaps the most important lesson from this discovery is not about Antarctica itself. It is about the nature of life. For centuries, scientists believed that life required sunlight, warmth, and stable conditions. But the Antarctic Trench has proven that life can emerge in darkness. It can survive using chemical energy instead of sunlight, and it can adapt to environments that once seemed completely impossible. This discovery has expanded our understanding of where life might exist, because if ecosystems can survive beneath the frozen ocean of Antarctica, then similar ecosystems could exist beneath the icy crust of distant moons. Europa. Enceladus. Perhaps even worlds we have not yet discovered. The deep ocean beneath Antarctica may be giving us a glimpse into the biology of other planets, and that possibility changes everything. The search for life in the universe may not begin in distant galaxies. It may begin right here on Earth. In the silent darkness beneath the Antarctic ice, where one expedition has already revealed that the impossible may simply be waiting to be discovered.